für die lange Weg. 2 Flaschen Whisky für die Zeit. Und ich date gern habe, du bist dabei. Maria geht, fahrt mal weg, ist weit. Wann ich geh, ich werd dir fehlen, wann ich geh. Du sehst nicht, was ich mach, du sehst nicht, wie ich lach. Ich werd dir fehlen, du watsch sehen. Hab kriegt mein Zettel für den langen Weg. Du scheinst da, als wir finden kann. Es hat Maria und Dale ganz wunderbar. Als ich dir den weißen Dank. Wann ich geh, ich werd dir fehlen, wann ich geh. Du sehst nicht, was ich mach, du sehst nicht, wie ich lach. Ich werd dir fehlen, du watsch sehen. Well, Gouda Ovid, Lieve Light. Welcome back to another episode of PA Dutch Live. Boy, do we have a great show ready to come at you tonight in March. It's the middle of March. Can you believe it already? I don't know what it's like where you are, but today we had a real spring-like day here in the mountains of central Pennsylvania, almost 70 degrees. I saw kids outside playing. It was wonderful. And we got a great episode full of some great art, some music, some wonderful conversation, and of course all the normal stuff that we got coming at you. I got some updates and announcements to share with everybody, and as is always the case, people, get in that comment section, whether you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube, or if you're joining us via Twitter, and let me know where you are joining us from. I'm sure some of our regular viewers are out there with us tonight. Let us know. Hey, we got people already coming. You let me know. I'll give you guys a shout out. As always, welcome. There's our good friend Rachel Yoder. She's joining us. 2 of my faves. There's only 1 person on the screen, but the other guy's coming on pretty soon, Rachel. Don't you worry. And we got our good friend Norman joining us again. Gouda Ovid aus der Westpals. They're staying up over there in Germany. I love it that these people stay up till midnight to watch this show. We got Luke joining us from beautiful, and it is beautiful, Burnville, Berks County, close to where my roots dig deep into the ground. We got Gary joining us from Egypt. I think Egypt, Pennsylvania, not Egypt. Although maybe, who knows? Our good friend David's joining us again this month from Lehigh County. Hello, David. Good that you're with us. Here's our good friend Carol. Wonderful to have you on again. And she says she's also joining us from beautiful downtown Burnville. Carol, I hope you're doing better. We've been thinking about you and Danny the last couple months. Looks, according to Facebook, like you're on the mend, and that's good to hear. Jeff Marks is joining us from Mont Etna, Walberstädtel, the big town. Who else are we going to give shout outs to? Dryville Road out there in Fleetwood. Dolly Moyer. Dolly, thanks for joining us. You've been joining us here the last couple months as well. Seth is joining us from sunny San Diego, California. Pennsylvania Dutch stretches everywhere. It knows no boundaries. Thanks for joining us, Seth. Well, as always, let me share my stream here so that I can go over some information with you guys and some things coming up in the greater Pennsylvania Dutch community. Yvonne just joined us. I want to give her a quick shout out, joining us from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and she's watching the show with her cousin Elaine. Well, hello, Elaine. Glad that you and Yvonne could be joining us today. Tonight, we will be joined by my dear friend Ben Raeder. We'll bring him on here in just a minute or two, and you're going to love this conversation because he is quite the guy in a lot of different ways, and I'll explain a couple of in a minute. But I do have a couple announcements, as I usually do at the beginning of the show. Big event coming up in Pennsylvania Dutch country, and that is the 81st Berks County Pennsylvania Dutch Versammling. It is held every year on the Monday after Easter. This year is no exception. This year it will be on Monday, the 18th of April at 5:30 p.m., held every year at the Leesport Market Banquet Hall, $25 per person. If you've never been to this event, it is one of the quintessential Pennsylvania Dutch events throughout the year on my calendar for sure. What it is, just for anyone that would be interested in coming, it's a night of all things Pennsylvania Dutch. There'll be anywhere from hopefully 300 to 400 people there. You'll have dinner, traditional Pennsylvania Dutch food. There will be entertainment. There'll be a speaker. You'll get to meet Pennsylvania Dutch minded people from all over, and you don't have to speak or understand Pennsylvania Dutch to go to this event. But you want to be there because you'll be hearing the language. You'll be singing in the language. You'll be pledging the flag in the language, and it'll all be there in a little booklet for you so you can just read along. And even if you don't want to speak Pennsylvania, you can go just for the food and the camaraderie. It is a wonderful evening. If you would like to go, you do have to get a ticket ahead of time, and you can contact our good friend Joyce Hassler. There is her email address, pennagerman@msn.com. Give her an email. Tell her that you are interested in getting tickets for the 81st Berks County, Pennsylvania Dutch Versammling, and she'll make sure that she gets you those tickets in the mail, or you'll be able to pick them up at the door. But you have to have the reservations, and the reservation deadline is approaching quickly, April 2nd. So please, if you're interested in going to the Berks County Versammling, go. I will be there. You can meet me. We can get a picture together. I'm going to be doing some filming while we're there that night, and I'll have you on camera if you want to get on camera and talk a little bit. So look forward to that. I hope if you guys come, we'll be able to talk. Check that out for sure, and give Joyce an email and let her know that you're interested in going. Tomorrow in America, and I guess in Ireland too, is St. Patrick's Day. Green beer, corned beef, cabbage, all this type of stuff. Well, did you know that tomorrow is also another Saint's Day? And the Pennsylvania Dutch, we're not Irish, so we don't necessarily tip our hat to St. Patrick, but we do tip our hat tomorrow to St. Gertrude of Nivelles. She is the patron saint of cats, but she is also the patron saint of gardeners, and that's our connection in the Pennsylvania Dutch as being agriculturalists and farmers for so many generations of our history. Tomorrow is also in our culture traditionally the day that you are supposed to plant your peas and onions. If you plant them tomorrow, the belief is that they will produce a large harvest. Now, I don't know about where you are. My garden ground is nowhere near ready to plant. So I will not be getting my peas and onions in tomorrow. I'll just tip my hat to St. Gertrude and say, be with me the day that I do plant my peas and onions at some point in the near future. But if your garden's ready to go, tomorrow's the day. Get out there and plant those peas and onions and tip your hat to St. Gertrude. I told you this last month. I'm telling you again. Don't forget, the 2nd of July through the 10th is the one and the only America's oldest folklife festival, the Kutztown Folk Festival. If you can't make it, you're really going to miss out. If you can make it, what an experience you're going to have. Because this year's, I said this last month, and I'm going to say it again, I truly believe this year's festival will be one of the best ever. 2 years of off because of COVID. We have musicians coming from Germany. There's other great musicians, folk artists, great food, the quilts, you name it. It's going to be there this year, and you don't want to miss this. So mark your calendars the 2nd to the 10th of July. To learn more and see more, check out their website. Just Google search Kutztown Folk Festival. You'll be able to find it right away. My hope, spoiler alert, is that for our May episode of PA Dutch Live, I can have Heather Zimmerman, the director of the Folk Festival, on the show so that she can whet our lips and our appetites about all the great things that are going to be happening at the Folk Festival this summer. I haven't been able to secure her yet for that, but I'm going to really try hard so that you guys get to meet her and also, find out what's all going to be there to see this year, because there's going to be a lot of really, really great stuff. Hey, real quick, David B is also joining us from San Diego. Welcome to the show, David. And our good friend Ashley, good obit von Maya Stettel. She's joining us out there from Western Berks County. And Lutra B, alles gut, genobit aus Lautra. So joining us also from across the ocean over there in the Pfalz. Guda Ovid. All right, I think it's time for me to shut up and bring on this guy. Today's and this month's special guest is Ben Raeder, a good friend of mine, and I've been waiting to have him on the show because A, he's just a cool guy, and B, the art and music that he creates is one of a kind. So I'm going to stop talking here, and we're going to bring Ben in. Ben, welcome to PA Dutch Live.
Good over, Doug.
Boy, am I glad to have you here. I hope that you're glad to get a chance to talk with all these people and share your stories.
Sure, absolutely. It's gonna be a good time. Absolutely.
Well, let's start off by letting people get to know you a little bit better. Tell the viewers what's your connection and your background to Pennsylvania Dutch?
Sure. So, I mean, I come from a Pennsylvania Dutch family. My grandparents, growing up, lived right up the road, and so I got a little bit of the language from them growing up. You know, they would say things like eating a meal. Es gibt nichts so gut wie ein Hebes, you know, phrases like that. My grandmother always said "Selbst de week" whenever something bad happened. "Selbst de week." So that was kind of like my foundation, and it was just kind of pretty normal. It wasn't until I went to school later on that I kind of, came in more contact with my Pennsylvania Dutch identity. I went to a school in Roseto, Pennsylvania, and I was probably one of maybe five kids there that was not Italian. And so it became very clear that, my cultural identity was something different. And that's kind of where my interest spread.
So when some people have that aha moment of, cultural identity, some people embrace it, some people maybe walk away from it. What made you say this is something I want to embrace?
Um, I guess I was brought up with kind of a strong sense of, family, and seeing the people down there. They kind of had shared values, but a totally different culture. And so it made me kind of want to explore mine a little bit more, to see, okay, here's how we're the same. Now, how are we different? Um, so that's kind of where it started. They had, in terms of languages they taught in that school, they had Italian, Latin, Spanish. And so I was really into language, and I wanted to learn my own. And so that kind of drove me to start seeking out sources. Back then, there was no PA Dutch 101 online. So I just started getting German books and German music and doing what I could on my own. And then later on in life, I took a language class in Pennsylvania Dutch down at Kutztown, and it was like that. It's like, you remember all the things growing up then that you heard along the way, and it all clicked. So it was, a lot of work, but yeah, seeking out that identity. There's a lot of cool stuff in the Pennsylvania Dutch culture, so it was pretty easy to stick with it.
I agree. So let's talk about what you do. You are an artist, and we're going to look at definitely some of your paintings. But before we do, if you had to sum up your style, how would you describe it?
So I take a lot of elements, a lot of different elements. So I try to have the language in the paintings. I try to have a lot of the like folk art motifs, the hex signs, stuff like that, some of the fraktur. And then I try to paint things that are familiar to me and are of Pennsylvania. And so each of those elements kind of came at different times as I was trying to put something together, and they meshed well. So I would say the style, I always liked Gustav Klimt, and so I would say that stained glass, that real designy type, Art Nouveau, you know what I mean? But something modern. And the reason being is because a lot of times when people hear Pennsylvania Dutch, they think of the past, and all the old timey stuff, or like just straight up folk songs, folk art. And so I felt as though the culture is very much alive still. And later on, when people look back, if they see things were still being made that are new, it was a sign that the culture was in good health. So that's kind of how I want to contribute, and do my part.
Well, you do your part for sure, and I love what you just said about how we struggle with this as a culture, I think, because we are very nostalgic as a
Oh yeah.
people, and I think as the Pennsylvania Dutch, and not to take anything away, of course, from our past, but what people like you and people like Rachel Yoder and other artists in the PA Dutch community, and they're pulling these ideas from the past, but then also showing everybody that, hey, we are still like, we're alive. We're still creating. We're still, we're not this culture shelved on a library shelf somewhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think too, like you said, like, so 3 generations from now, they'll be able to see, oh, people were still doing stuff in 2022, for example.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not a static thing. It's still developing and moving, and yeah.
Well, let's look at some of your art. I'm going to bring into the stream here. And so ahead of time, everybody, Ben sent me a couple images to share with you guys tonight. But before we talk about them, I do want to give a couple people some quick shout outs that are joining us. Brigitte's been joining us every month as well. Hello from Philadelphia. Thanks for joining us again. Andrea says, love the channel, and Ben's art is absolutely stunning. Andrea, you are correct. And what Andrea also says, and I love this, I'm not Pennsylvania Dutch, but I'm born and raised in Pennsylvania and love learning about the culture in this state. Well, that's great. We're glad that you find interest in our culture, and we'll keep it coming here for you, Andrea, and anybody else out there that's in Andrea's boat. So Ben, let's talk about some of your art before we talk about your music. This painting that you sent me, tell us about it.
So just kind of a side note before we get started, what Andrea just said is kind of what I see a lot, which is awesome, and kind of the whole point of this. When I do markets and bring the art around, it's really great to see how interested people that are Pennsylvania Dutch, that maybe have they don't have too much of a background in either the language or the culture itself. That's kind of been lost in a generation or something. How interested they are in learning about it again and getting involved again. A lot of people that I meet at shows know who you are, and they watch your PA Dutch 101. But there's a lot of people out there that are looking for things to kind of reignite their interest in the culture. But anyhow, so this particular painting is Beelk Maria. And this is one that I did for the Pennsylvania Dutch Cultural Center for the Mountain Mary exhibition. So just kind of started out with this one just because it's not on the surface something that you might see as Dutch intrinsically, you know what I mean? But
Right.
Once you get into the story of it, and I try to create a narrative with the paintings, you know what I mean? So there's a story behind everything. This one, I chose to paint her as a little girl kind of at the beginning of her journey here in America. And so just kind of hopeful, you know what I mean?
And real quick, for the people out there that maybe aren't familiar with Mountain Mary, we'll give you the quick elevator speech. Mountain Mary was a woman that lived in the 1700s in the Ole Valley of Berks County, who eventually would become known as this healer, using plants and herbs and natural remedies to heal people. She's almost taken on a saint-like quality, I think, among some Pennsylvania Dutch people. There's a great exhibition online right now at the Pennsylvania German Cultural Heritage Center's website, where you can see Ben's painting and other artists' contribution to this series. So,
yep. That's all I got on that one, Doug.
So, and just for everybody, so you are painting only in oil-based paints?
Yeah, so I paint in oil because it doesn't dry quickly. And so when I'm painting, it's basically an atrocious mess until the point that it's not. And so I can kind of keep messing with it on the canvas until I get what I'm looking for. And I love how the colors mix with oil too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So here's the next one that you sent me. Another woman.
Indeed. They're far easier to paint. We're just a bunch of ugly guys. You know what I mean? Who wants to paint guys? But this is Rachel Yoder. I mean, this is the one hanging behind me right now. I just kind of finished it up a couple weeks ago. So keeping it hanging until I start the next one. But this is kind of part of a series of portraits that I'm doing of people in the Pennsylvania Dutch community, living people that are all contributing in their own way to the culture. And so Rachel Yoder, she's a Pennsylvania Dutch artist and makes some amazing work. Mm-hmm. So this is kind of whenever I do a portrait of someone, I try to take a picture that is unassuming, just kind of a random picture that seems like it would make a good composition, and then fill in how I would how it feels. You know what I mean? Or just kind of how that person seems to me. And so this is how that one came out. The rosette in the background, you can kind of make out. That's my favorite motif that she uses quite often.
Mm-hmm.
And so that had to be in the picture, you know.
And also, if you look at the bottom there's where you have what you were talking about earlier about some of that like stained glass look.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Words.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. And the words in this one, this is kind of like the first time I went full allegory.
Okay.
You know, so this is of Frau Halle, basically, is the portrait. So it says, it's hard to see where the words start and where they stop and where it's going. But this one says, Die Frau Halle gleich vor de wilde Jagd. So right before the wild hunt. So total allegory with this one.
Yeah. Yeah. This is one that you did a while ago.
Yeah.
I had a chance to see this one in person. I love this piece. Please talk about this one.
I love this one too. This is one of my favorites. So this is Patrick Donmoyer, head of the Pennsylvania Cultural Center down in Kutztown, and that barn is on the Cultural Center's property there, kind of the back end. And one year, I think it was Heimatfest. It could have been Easter on the Farm, but I think it was Heimatfest, and he was up painting that star on the barn. So I kind of took a snap and ended up, I think a year afterwards, finding that picture again, and just it was perfect to paint. So the words in this one up at the top say "Do das was du liebst," and that do that which you love, and it seems as though Patrick loves doing what he does. Yes. The amount, the guy's so prolific, you kind of have to love what you're doing to produce as he does, Yeah. But the stained glass in this one, that I think that was taken, like the idea for that was kind of from a design from a church, I believe in East Greenville. So I just kind of looked for some stained glass that was local to the Dutch country and just kind of made my own version.
So like this is a question for you, like in your creative process. So when you sit down, how much do you think about these paintings before you actually put brush to canvas?
Not at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
I'll start out with who I want to paint or what I want to paint, kind of like the major idea. But I never think about what I want to say in terms of the words. I never think about where they're going. I never think about kind of the background. It always seems to kind of present itself somewhere along the line. So it can be kind of frustrating when you're painting, but what are you going to do? You just kind of keep moving until something appears, and it always does in the end. So
that's good. I hope that voice in your head keeps talking.
Yeah, and doesn't start saying insane things. It keeps
right. Right.
Yeah.
So here's another one. So yeah, go ahead, Ben.
Well, I was just this is my son Hendrik and I when he was, he's still, he's 4 now, but this was when he was a real little kid. So this is definitely one of my favorites. The on the bottom, so this frame I made out of some pine and cedar and kind of carved those rosettes in, and the words at the top and the bottom say Die Zukunft. So the future, of the culture.
Really bright colors on this one.
Yeah, that's kind of what it's all about. Yeah, and those colors, that green is such an odd green. The blue and the heart in the middle, and the purples in the background. It's kind of few and far between that I've used those colors, but like I said before, that's kind of what came. So that's what I used.
Just as a side question, you talk about having this stained glass look. Did you grow up in a church that stained glass was like something that made an impression on your mind?
No, the church that I went to when I was a kid, I mean, it was very plain on the
Okay.
inside. There wasn't really much decoration at all. Um, but uh, but yeah, I mean, I think with being into artists like Gustav Klimt, and there's always something spiritual. I
Mhm.
mean, us Pennsylvania Dutch people, like that's always kind of in the background. I mean, one of my family members, my grandmother, I believe it was, man, either her grandfather, I think it was her grandfather who was a Braucher. And
Okay.
so she always told me when he passed away, either her sisters or aunts, I can't remember the story exactly, but they burned all of his handwritten like ledgers
Oh
and
my
books because
goodness.
they thought it was
Black magic. Yeah.
that's right. So I feel like for the Pennsylvania Dutch, that spiritual sense is kind of always in the background.
Mhm.
And so the stained glass, iconography and stuff like that, it kind of all plays a role. It just makes sense.
I have another side question for you. So as a kid, were you always artistic? Like, were you the kind of kid that was always drawing and painting as a kid already? Or was this something
Yeah.
that came later in life? Oh,
So my,
okay. Okay.
my grandmother was an artist. I mean, her work is way
Okay.
different than mine. She kind of went a more realistic route, a lot of portraits and stuff like that. But I always sketched. I was up in her studio a lot with her, kind of messing around, and she was always. She never gave me honest critiques. She always gave me critiques that were positive, you know what I mean? Which gives you the confidence though when you're a kid to keep going.
Sure.
And so I didn't start painting though until I was probably in my 20s. And the reason I started was because I was looking at a lot of Van Gogh stuff. I never took art classes or anything like that. It was kind of always just for fun. But I started looking at Van Gogh, and I just wanted to see if I could do it.
Oh my
Just
gosh.
like
Yeah.
how hard is what he's doing? It looks easy. It's a lot of like big palette knife strokes and stuff. And I found out immediately that it is really hard. So I was terrible, terrible at painting for years. But that's basically before I got married. I was working in New York for a couple years, and the whole time just thinking, what am I not doing in the woods?
Yeah.
But while I was there, I kind of locked myself in my little apartment in New Jersey and was just painting morning, noon, and night. And that's all I was doing. So, put in the hours and eventually something came from it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, here's our next one. Go ahead, Ben.
So, no, why don't you go ahead, Doug? Why don't you
What?
explain what's going on in this one?
Oh my goodness, you're gonna put like the art critic on the spot.
No,
Well,
no, no,
what
no.
do I feel when I look at this, right? Well, I know that the subject is Hunter Yoder,
Yes,
Rachel's husband.
yes,
And of course, from my perspective, just looking at this, I see, the motif of the style of barn stars, hex signs that Hunter tends to paint. You see there above his head in the yellow and blue.
yep,
And then we see a lot of wildlife too. It look like wolves, coyotes, and then bucks, deer, and white birch trees. And I'm sure that you have symbolism for all of that. I can't make out what the words say, but I'll let you. I'll turn it back over to the
sure.
master.
So this is another one from that portrait series, and I love Hunter's work. I mean, actually, a couple things. The hex sign there is right behind me in the center of the two hanging above where I paint. Hunter sent that to me while I was painting this one, so that had to go in. Um, Another thing about this painting is that space at the bottom, kind of the wood panels
Yeah.
and X signs there. So I had no clue for like 2 months what I wanted to put down there. And if you see behind me, there's shrunk. And so do you see that there? That's what that is. I built that as a way to kind of work the cobwebs out. I was just stuck. So I just built that in the meantime, and that's what ended up going in the painting, you know. The birch trees, I love birch trees.
Yeah.
We have a lot of them up here where I live. And so whenever I'm kind of cutting out dead trees out of the forest around here, I always keep the birches and try to keep them healthy and growing. There's something, you know, once again, just kind of spiritual about them. They're beautiful. So those had to go in there. The bells on those leather straps around the deer's necks, those always hung down in my grandparents' basement when I was a kid. They were like horse bells.
Right.
I always loved those. So I don't know why, but once again, that they kind of made their way onto the canvas and it worked.
Yeah.
The picture that I used of Hunter, it was kind of like it looked like something for Christmas. He was sitting in a chair. And I think he had his dog next to him, if I'm not mistaken. But I kind of like having things symmetrical without being symmetrical. And so the phrase kind of ties into why they're not two dogs, why they're wolves. He said a phrase to me while I was painting it, and it kind of just went right along with the theme here. And it says, Gold bringt Zank ohne Schlag. And then I think on the sides there, you can see Der Wolf wächst im Busch all. So like gold brings strife amongst kinfolk, the wolf grows up in the woods, you know? So that was kind of something that he had said there, and it went perfectly. And things like behind his head, there's the red yarn kind of tied zigzag across there. And that's like that. I don't know. I remember the Braucher way of kind of scraping the sickness off horses and stuff with that. So just kind of the Braucher theme in this one was perfect.
Yeah. I love this painting too. And I don't know if he's joining us tonight on the show or not. So this is of one of our new friends from Germany, Herbert Tiefel, who came over to the Kutztown Folk Festival and toured around Pennsylvania Dutch country right before COVID broke out. And I think this is a great painting, Ben.
I don't know. It was a happy painting. Herbert's an awesome guy. I had the chance to meet him. I was over in the vaults playing a couple of shows. Michael Warner invited me over to do so, and I had the pleasure of meeting Herbert. Super nice guy. Hallo Herbert, wenn du dat bist. So this one, you know, you see the groundhog there, the Grundsau, and kind of a spring theme all around. And so Herbert did something real interesting. So the groundhog lodges, Groundhog's Day, that came to America with our ancestors, and we kind of hung on to that tradition here, and it kind of faded away over there, it seems. And so he actually was part of bringing that back to the vaults there. I think he was the Schwetzer at the first one. I think. Yeah, was that in Bockenheim as well?
Yeah, I believe so.
I hope so, because Bockenheim is written at the top. So I hope I had that correct. But then you see at the bottom on the green kind of piece in the front, it says Nummer 19. So that was lodge number 19. So he absolutely deserves a spot in this series of people contributing. That's a major contribution to the culture, kind of restarting that tradition over there. So I was real impressed with that, and had to paint him. He's a character, you know. So you know, there's no exaggeration to that outfit or anything about it. That's him.
Yeah.
So But I love the groundhogs.
I do too. I think this might be the last painting or one of the last ones, Ben.
I think so.
This goes in a little bit of a different direction, maybe.
Yeah, I'm not even going to get into what's written on the top. It is a novel. But this one was definitely one of my favorites. It's my wife and my son Wolfgang when he was a little kid. And this is over in Germany when we were visiting her parents. My wife's family still lives over in Germany. And we were walking up this hill. It was a rainy day, and we came up over the hill. There was a little town down below, but it was such a happy memory that I painted. I didn't paint the rainy day. I painted a nice, beautiful sunny day.
Yeah.
And this one's kind of just a message to my son, about different paths you can take in life, and just kind of have at it.
Yeah. Oh no, we do have two more. Okay, here are two different paintings. I put them on the same slide,
Yeah,
but we go back to the groundhog theme
yeah,
there on the left,
yeah.
and then the one on the right you're gonna have to tell us about.
So the one on the left is obviously the groundhog. I kind of did that right before Groundhog's Day a couple years ago, and there's a great little poem in there. I kind of won't read through the whole thing, but it's basically saying that don't listen to the weatherman. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Just listen to what the groundhog says, and kind of talks about the fun you have at groundhog lodges and stuff like that. The one on the right is also in Germany, but kind of has that iconography motif that I was talking about before. It's of kind of a steep hill near their house. My father-in-law took the photo in winter. I had to paint it. It's like you march up the hill, and as you go around the hill, there's little spots going up. I think it's the Stations of the Cross.
Okay.
But just kind of looking out over that hill, that quiet, snowy hill, played right into the theme of the kind of stuff I paint. So, yeah.
So Ben, your art is different. It's something that I think a lot of people, when they see it at first, they're like, "How's this Pennsylvania Dutch?" But then the longer you look at some of this stuff, you start to see all the little motifs that come out, or these shared images and colors, and then of course when you work the language in as well, it's so fresh and new, and that's what I've always really loved about your work. And not to take anything away from the work that other people are doing, but every now and then you get that, you see something or you hear something, it like punches you in the arm and kind of like wakes you up a little bit. And like you mentioned earlier, it's hey, this thing's alive. This culture is alive. Look at what we're doing. So let's transition now, because you don't just do art. You recently have started doing a lot of music in Pennsylvania Dutch as well. We're going to listen to a little bit of it and have you talk us through that, and what's your idea of what's music, Pennsylvania Dutch music to you. Let me ask you that question first, because the people here on the show know, because I've shared a lot of the music that I do, and Chris and I do, and we tend to do more of like the traditional Appalachian style Pennsylvania Dutch folk music, but the stuff that you're doing is very different. So what's your approach to music? Is it the same as your approach to art, or is it a little different?
Pretty much the same. I have no idea of what I want to do before I do it. But I mean, the music I was doing long before I ever did the paintings.
Oh, okay.
Not in Pennsylvania Dutch, but I've been playing music a long time, playing in bands and stuff like that. And I had written a couple, like years back, I had written a couple songs in Pennsylvania Dutch as a means to kind of learn some new words and stuff like that, and round out my grammar and all that kind of stuff. And all the way down the line, Michael Warner then asked, "Hey, would you like to come and play some music in Pennsylvania Dutch in the vaults?" As he had heard that before. And so it kind of re-energized me to start writing some new material. Excuse me. So I wrote some songs to go over there, maybe 7 or 8 songs. A lot of using acoustics and stuff that I could play by myself live, and that would translate just one person playing. And then afterwards, I just had to keep going. There's no sense in stopping there. The more material, the better. So I just recently finished up a full-length album with a full band, so I'm playing the instruments, drum machine, but I'm playing live bass and vocals and guitar and stuff like that. But usually when I paint, I'll just be sitting there and I'll start humming something, or something will come into my head. I'll have to stop painting. I go over to my desk and start recording. And so I love using Pennsylvania Dutch in as the lyrics in the songs, because once the melody is written, the lyrics are a lot of fun in terms of putting them to the music, how they roll off the tongue and how they play with the grooves that I'm writing. The style that I like to do is like kind of bouncy, you know, but a lot of grooves, a lot of riffs on the guitar. I like heavier stuff, but heavy in a way that it's triumphant and fun rather than angry heavy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Pennsylvania Dutch, the language just fit in perfectly to how I write music. And so that's kind of explaining that, you know.
So here's one of your, or some lyrics from one of your songs. And can we listen to it a little bit while people are looking at the lyrics? Of course, the Pennsylvania Dutch on the left, English on the right.
Sure. Yeah, and I just want to point out the unprofessionalism on your side, Doug, for dropping the ball and being able to play this music. Now I'm going to mess it up and I will be to blame. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We had some technical issues early on before we went live. Hopefully we've figured something out.
Yep, let's check it out. So here we go. So that's that one. So that song basically comes from when I was over in Germany with Michael. He's the doctor, Dr. Michael Warner, but he uses that phrase "Pelzophonia" to kind of show the similarities in culture and language and stuff like that still exist between our areas. And so this song as a whole kind of outlines, a lot of the stuff we share, like that part, wann sie gut Stunde sind doch selde, ich nehm die, wo mir komme. Wir sind fleißig. Wir werden schaffen. We want to work. We want to keep moving, you know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what that song's all about.
Well, we have time for one more song. Let's take a look at this one and we can listen to this one. Fanahi Hinafui.
Yeah.
I like this. So tell us a little bit about this song real quick before we listen to it.
So this song is kind of in respect to what's been going on the past 2 years, just kind of the state that people got to, where you would see that people were afraid, and people were afraid to kind of start living again. I mean, all that stuff did a number on us in a lot of different ways. And so this one, it says, ich habe nicht keinen Kontakt mit die Leute, wo ich lieb hatte. Like, people didn't see their loved ones. They didn't see anybody for a long time. And as human beings are social animals. And so you kind of crawl up into this little hole, and it seemed like it was hard to leave for a lot of people, and get back out there and start living again. So this is kind of a commentary on all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
here, absolutely.
Play that.
I have to ask you, Ben, your music is so different from what most people think about when they think of Pennsylvania Dutch music. What kind of reaction have you gotten from people that have listened to your music?
I don't think anybody's listened to it thus far. I think you're the first,
Oh, come on. Wait, I
Yeah,
mean, you posted a lot of this stuff on social media as you bring songs out. People
yeah,
had to have commented and things. What
sure,
kind of
sure.
things are people saying?
I mean, so music's kind of a weird thing because
Yeah.
if you don't like that style of music, a painting is one thing where if you're looking at it, you can like all sorts of different types of painting, and you can like this individual painting, maybe not that one, all that kind of stuff. But with music, if you don't like the style, you're probably not listening. But the people that do listen, I mean, yeah, people seem to like hearing new stuff and are looking for more. And so it seems like they're enjoying it. It could be that they're just being nice, but I'm going to keep making it. So maybe one day I'll kind of keep reaching people and see where it takes me. But I'd love to play it full band someday.
That would be a lot of fun. I have
Yeah,
to. I mean, I have to be completely honest. The first time I heard some of your songs, I just wasn't. I wasn't ready for it. You know what I mean? Like, I thought, here comes some new music. I know Ben's a really talented guy. He's creative. It's going to be great. And my mind was already in the sense of this is what Pennsylvania Dutch music's
sure,
supposed to
sure.
sound like.
I
And
think that's a lot of the reaction. A lot of times is like people are expecting one thing, and when it's not
yeah.
that, it kind of confuses a little bit. But
But it confuses in a good way, and that's my point. Like the first time I listened, I was like, oh, wait, what is this? Is this really what how do I wrap my head around this? But just like anything else, you listen to it more than once, and you quickly can see that no, this language, our language, as old as it is, can be used like this
versatile.
in a
It's
way
real
that, yeah,
versatile.
absolutely,
It's playful,
absolutely,
and I like to, and the
yeah.
music is playful, and bouncy and stuff like that. I think it goes perfectly with that style. I don't know if I could make myself write a different style anyhow. So I'm kind of
Right.
stuck,
No, we all
you
have
know.
that vein, right? No, I hear you. I hear you. Geez, Ben, it's been so wonderful talking with you this evening and
Yeah, it's been
sharing
fun.
your creativity and your art and your music. If people want to learn more about Ben Raeder, where should they go?
So my website is benjaminrader.com. Just my name, and from there, you can find links to the music. I'll periodically put some of the newer work on there, but kind of links to I believe my social and stuff too. Instagram is kind of where I'm always posting. I like posting updates as I do work to kind of show the process. So whether it be music or the art, I'll always kind of use that and Facebook as platforms to post updates and final pieces and stuff like that too.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoy watching your process and your progress on Instagram because you'll see the beginning of a painting and then you're thinking, where's this guy going with this? And then then you see a little bit more and a little bit more, and it's always I find a lot of joy watching your
Awesome.
creative process.
I'm happy.
Absolutely.
That makes me happy, Doug.
I will post a link, everybody, to Ben's website in the show notes down below on the YouTube channel so that you can just click the link and it'll take you right to Ben's page. And then you can give him a follow on all the social media outlets that he is currently active on. Ben, I hope to have you back sometime in the
Sure.
in the future.
Sure.
And I'm sure you're going to have new art to share and new music to share. And I guess on your website, if you're doing any shows, that would be posted there as well if anybody wanted to
Yeah.
meet you live and see your art.
Yeah, I do some markets during the summer and stuff like that. So I'll be sure to kind of post where I'm going once I know. Yeah.
Sounds good. Ben, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll have you back soon.
Yeah, Max Gut, Doug.
Ja, du magst gut all, Bruder.
Yeah. Okay.
Everybody, how wonderful is that? Ben is a top-notch guy, one of the best out there. You saw the art, it blows you away, doesn't it? If you ever get the chance to see them in real life, minus being in front of your computer screen, if you can get to a show where he's at, go. Because when you actually get to look at them, it's like when you go to a museum and you see the real thing. You get a whole nother emotional experience. At least I do when I see Ben's work and his music too. Like I said, it took me a while to get my head wrapped around, but once I did, Bingo, right? So as the show continues, as always, I like to get, we heard a lot of language. We saw some language tonight, but I like to give you guys a little bit more. And since it is March, I picked some words to share with everybody to practice our Pennsylvania Dutch. Some March words here. We'll go through those quick, and then we'll wrap things up here for another month. But the word for March in Pennsylvania Dutch is mats. Mats. Say these with me now when I'm saying them, okay? And we are slowly, well, not slowly, rapidly approaching spring. It's coming really quickly. And the word for spring is es frior. Es frior. Literally early part of the year. That's how it translates in Pennsylvania Dutch. And tomorrow being St. Patrick's Day, I thought we got to have the word for clover. Dagley. Dagley. And if you happen to see a rainbow tomorrow with the pot of gold and all that stuff in the leprechaun, now you know how to say the word rainbow. Da reaboa. Da reaboa. The word for luck, esglick. Esglick. Everyone's going to be wearing green tomorrow, so the word for green is green. Green, that's an easy one. And I know at my house, one of the first flowers that pops up this time of year is the crocus. So I'll give you the word for crocus. It's der crocus. If there is a different Pennsylvania Dutch word out there for that flower, I don't know it. If you know it, pop that in the comment section, because I'd love to know that if there is a different word other than der crocus. And like I said, with tomorrow being St. Gertrude's Day and you're going to go out there and plant your peas and onions, I've given you those words as well. The verb to plant is blanse, blanse. And the word for onions, swibbele, swibbele. And the word for peas, die arpse, die arpse. So there you go. You got some words to help you in your Pennsylvania Dutch journey as you move on. I want to take just a minute. I don't want to be political. I'm not making a political statement. I'm making a statement about humanity. As we all know, the world is in a pretty rough place right now, especially in Eastern Europe. And I know some of you that are on social media probably see a lot of people posting the I stand with Ukraine in Germany. You will also see it if you're on German social media. And I thought, well, how do you say that in Pennsylvania Dutch? Let's learn that. So here's my statement about I'm standing with the people of Ukraine right now in their struggle. Wir stehen mit der Ukraine. Wir stehen mit der Ukraine. That's my personal stance. Wherever you stand is up to you, but I wanted to share that with you. And there's an image of the Ukrainian flag. We thoughts and prayers are with all of those people as they struggle to survive. If you like what we do here, you can support the channel by buying me a coffee. There's the link. You don't have to, but if you feel so moved, any financial contribution that you donate goes solely to the upkeep of the channel, buying new equipment, paying bills, things like that. It's not going to, maybe I'll get some more makeup. The more money I got to get some makeup and make myself look a little bit better, like Ben said. We're working on it. We're working on it. It's 2022, but keep buying me those coffees. And anybody that has bought me a coffee in the past, I thank you for your support. And anybody that plans on buying me in the future, I already thank you for your support as well. I can already tell you what our next episode is going to be about, and it's going to be a good one. I'm really excited. Our next episode of PA Dutch Live is April 20th at 6 p.m., and I have been able to secure Dr. Cynthia Falk to join us next month. Dr. Falk wrote a book called Pennsylvania Dutch Architecture and Artifacts. So we're going to be talking about furniture next week and how that fits into Pennsylvania Dutch culture and what Pennsylvania Dutch furniture says about our culture. I'm really, really looking forward to the conversation. So mark your calendars, April 20th, 2022, 6 p.m. We'll have Dr. Falk here on the show, and we'll have a lot of fun. Couple things here. People are joining us. I want to give them quick shout outs before we say goodbye. Roger's joining us from Findlay, Illinois, out there in the Midwest. Roger, thanks for joining us. We have someone joining us from across the ocean. Hallo, ihr liebe Leid, bin leider so spät. So hello, dear people. Sorry, I'm a little late. Liebe Grüße aus der Pals. So many greetings from the Palatinate, K-Town. K-Town is short for Kaiserslautern. Dolly Moyer wants to know when the Doug Mainford portrait print will be available. Holy cow, Dolly. I think Ben's going to be working on that one for a while. To make me look good, he's going to have to, that's going to take a lot of paint. So we'll have to just follow his progress on social media. Carol says, thank you, Ben. And I say thank you, Ben, as well. Purple hearts. I don't know what that means in emoji language, but I think it's a good thing. Keith says, Doug, good to see you. I'm a friend of your brother's. Beaker, if you remember. Boy, Keith, you're I'm going to have to think about that one. But anybody that's a friend of my brother is a friend of mine. How's that sound? And Jacob's joining us. Gouda Owit, Doug will Gouda Owit. Jacob. And Andrea joins us again saying, hey, love the episode. Thanks, Dung and Ben. Well, thank you for joining us, Andrea. We'll keep these episodes coming and new shows coming. Keep checking on the Facebook page, PA Dutch 101, for new content, new material. The YouTube channel as well. Of course, I'll have new stuff coming out as much as possible. If you haven't subscribed and liked the YouTube channel, my goodness, what are you doing? Please go do that. Tell your friends. Keep sharing the Pennsylvania Dutch love. And as we always say at the end of every episode, dear friends, please be safe, stay healthy, bleib gesund. And as we say in Pennsylvania Dutch when we say goodbye, Max gut.
Ich kann deutsche Worte singen, hoff so kannst du. Wähle dann mit Anna singen, sing ich und du. Ich bin froh und ich bin herrlich, wie bist dann du? Ich geh recklen auf die Karte, ich hoff so tust du. Oh, wir singen, sing ich und du. Oh, mir platsche dazu. Viel wie ein Hutschli im Feld, wie viel stand du? Gib dem Doktor gar kein Geld, was gibst dann du? Rumfungiere du, ich nicht, hoff nicht tust du. Ich geh zeitlich noch im Bett, hoff so tust du. Oh, mir singen, sing ich und du. Oh, mir platsche